Yeah, I'm interested in the new Spiritborn. I know as of noon today, that's what 3 o'clock. It's noon PST, so yeah, it's 3 o'clock our time. Streamers I got to go out and test it out over the weekend are going to start posting their stuff.
I thought GM put something up a couple days ago. I know he said that he was going to be one of the testers.
Yeah, but they
Couldn't
legally
put
can't
anything to till
post anything
today.
till 3 o'clock today. Yeah, he said he went out there, he met a bunch of people, and he enjoyed trying. He enjoyed trying out the game, but he caught a cold or whatever it was, and somebody was just asking him on his stream if he enjoyed playing the class. In which case, he said, yeah, he really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm interested in a new class. I mean, to swap it up. I think at this point I've played each class that's in the game, so it's about time for something new.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll try to finish at the last. I'm about 20 minutes into the last episode of The Boys. And you're gonna enjoy the episode when you watch it.
Camera on. It's on now.
Trust
Not
me,
that anybody wants to see me.
nobody was gonna remind you on that one.
I know we need to do the more movies. How many did you want to do before you left?
Uh, as many as we can. I mean, the more we got to stockpile, the better we're gonna be, or better off we'll be. I really want to get the Deadpool Wolverine in before I leave, but that might not be an option. It'll all depend on the we can get access to it. I know you picked excuse me. I know you found one that yeah that we want to check out. Have you found any more?
I haven't looked yet.
I mean, most of this. I mean, there's one or two I found that might be interesting that I haven't that I haven't seen, but it's mostly so far it's just because I've watched a lot of movies. I hate to say it, but there's not a whole lot out there that's worth watching that I hadn't already seen. You know. Right now, out of the ones we have watched, the only one that's got a 5-star rating was the first Quiet Place. I ain't gonna lie, dude. Hey, you can go back and watch the your facial expression while you were watching that. I mean, you were completely invested into that movie.
It's a good movie, man.
Yeah, I agree. But while I was sitting there editing it, there was just so many scenes where you're just like on the edge, leaning in with your eyes wide open and your jaw dropped. Just, I mean, you were into it. Hell, I gotta give me something to eat too. My wife was supposed to be making me a salad, but you know how distracted she tends to get. For some reason, I'm extremely hungry. It is after lunchtime, isn't it? Yeah, let me run in there and see how the food's coming along. I'll be back in a minute.
We got about 10 minutes left, and then we're going to get started here. Nothing special going on at the moment. So the plan for the moment is to stream this and then probably play some more Last of Us, and then stream RNC Day 4 with Trump talking.
All right, 8 minutes to go.
And the dude who plays Homelander is so fucking good.
He's a good actor. He plays that role very well, but he's a complete ass.
Damn, Homelander just outed her ass.
Oh yeah, you just got to that part.
Cheers, chicham.
Here we go. Oh, they gotta play the trailer again.
Oh yeah.
Boy, young one.
I'm very much looking forward to the new expansion.
Nerel? You're not well.
What's that?
Please.
Say I'm looking forward to the new storyline.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that how I raised you? No, Mother. But I must carry this burden alone. I must get to Akarat's tomb. But look at you. You're killing yourself. I don't know how much longer I can... I'm here, little magpie. I missed you so much. I'm so proud of you. But now, I need you to give up. No. Of course it's you! You monster! Let go. No. You made a choice. And I warned you, little magpie. There would be consequences.
Oh, fuck.
No! I control the stone!
The stone. You control
Doesn't look like it.
nothing.
Fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I could use some help.
Well, that dude's long gone. Hello, Rat.
Hello, Diablo community. I'm Adam Fletcher, Community Director
All right, here
for
we go.
Diablo. Welcome to our Spiritborn Showcase, where we're doing a deep dive for this all-new class coming to Diablo 4, which will include a series of interviews, followed by Q&A from Twitch chat. I'm joined here today with Game Director Brent Gibson.
Thanks, Adam. We've been working hard to make something unique for Diablo, and we're finally here to actually talk about it.
Brent, I can remember us at BlizzCon where we showed off our very first cinematic. Now we're actually here to showcase the Spiritborn for the first time. We're glad to have you back for the full reveal.
Thanks. We've set out to make an all-new class that comes from the jungles of Nahantu, an apex predator with a deep connection to the spirit realm. So, without further ado, let's kick off this deep dive to the Spiritborn.
Only a few among my people can become Spiritborn. As children, the most promising face judgment in the mist. Our trial begins and ends with pain. Those who are not called are culled. For the weak, all paths end here. For the worthy, that path leads to power beyond compare, and a sacred charge.
That's a cool looking
to wield
outfit.
it well. Though the mortal world was designed to break us, our hearts, our minds, our bodies, there is another which makes us bold. We are without fear. We are without equal. We walk with
Kind of reminds me of the Druid class.
Yeah.
Their power is our power. Their cause is our cause. We forge unbreakable bonds in the spirit realm to defeat the horrors of this one. For we are Spiritborn.
Gorilla, the bird, the cat. I didn't see what the other two mounts were.
Those wasn't mounts.
Probably the spirit forms. Oh yeah, because there's a cat spirit form. That looks fucking badass, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, you just feared those mobs with the
There's
centipede?
Yeah, the centipede, the bird, the cat, and the gorilla.
Yeah, but there was another one. I don't know what it is.
No, I think it was just those four.
Wow, and
And
there
he
it
was
is,
sitting
the
on
first
the
look
mount.
at
The
Spiritborn.
Oh,
cat.
that's probably what it
Predator
was, yeah.
from the jungle. Awesome to finally show it off, and what an incredible trailer. To talk more about the Spiritborn, we would like to introduce Eleni Rivera Colon, narrative designer on Diablo 4. Welcome, Eleni.
Thank you. I'm
So it's a
really
cross
excited to
between
be
a
here to talk about
druid
the
and
Spiritborn class. I'm
a
also
monk.
A
a
monk,
little
yeah.
nervous.
It's okay. live. We're doing this live here for everyone. But obviously, Eleni, we just saw here in the trailer with, the Spiritborn, and we saw a little bit about that spirit realm. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that spirit realm is?
Yeah, so I mean, to put it plainly, the spirit realm is a place where spirits go. It's this deeply spiritual place that's a byproduct of Sanctuary's creation. So, as you may know, the angels have the high heavens, the demons have the burning hells, and we have the spirit realm.
We're hearing a little bit about the high heavens and the burning hells here, and players have actually seen both of those places specifically. Kind of like, what does the spirit realm actually look like for players?
Yeah, we really love this concept that the spirit realm is shaped by humanity. So if that's the case, the foundation of that would actually be Sanctuary. So you could imagine being in the middle of the jungle and you're surrounded by these tall trees and these ancient structures. And when you cross over the veil into the spirit realm, you're going to see a ghostly reflection of just that. The big key difference is that you're going to see all the spirits and the creatures that exist there.
Yeah, there are these massive creatures that protect the realm from spirits they protect the realm and the spirits from corruption. So the Spiritborn class have this harmonious bond and connection with these massive creatures that are called the Spirit Guardians, and they work together to ward the land.
It's awesome to hear about the Spirit Guardians, and people saw them in the trailer a little bit there. Can you actually tell us a little bit more about who these Spirit Guardians are?
Yeah, so if the spirit realm is shaped by humanity, we love the idea that the guardians are formed from human belief. And so if you're trying to survive in the jungle and protection is a thing that you are pouring all of your belief, your hope into, that belief it's magical. It's got power in itself, and it can actually create a creature that represents that. It could represent protection.
Yeah, so as Brent is saying, the Spirit Guardians are this complex creation of Sanctuary's creation along with this powerful human belief. And Spiritborns devote their entire lives strengthening this incredible bond because these Spirit Guardians are powerful. It's this idea, right, of what these gods look like. And so they can help protect both the realm and Nahantu.
We saw in the trailer and some of the gameplay, people were, if you're playing the Spiritborn, you can actually summon one of these in there. Is that something you can do on demand? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, very early on in concepting, we saw this one piece of a simple warrior raising their staff above their head and this massive spirit creature forming behind them. And that really became the lightning rod to a lot of thought-provoking ideas. I mean, we knew what we wanted to do mechanically with the class, but that image really solidified that the idea of summoning a god into battle was really cool. And that actually became the cornerstone for a lot of our development from then on out.
Yeah, so talking about Spirit Guardians and summoning them, the Spiritborn class can summon 4 Spirit Guardians. The first one that I want to talk about is Razoka, and this guardian manifests in the form of a jaguar. So the belief of courage and ferocity, striking on the hunt, attacking a kill with no fear or reservations. The second one is Balazan, appearing as this massive centipede. The belief is balance and persistence. So although some people might see it as fear, it represents harmony and balance, so the give and take of life. And then we have Quatli. The manifestation of this is a majestic eagle, right? So to represent awareness and finesse, soaring above it all, having keen awareness of its surroundings, and acting with intent. And then the last one is Woomba. This guardian manifests in a powerful gorilla, so this beacon of protection and strength, and a movable force that holds its ground and sustains under pressure.
So it's great because we've heard a little bit about the spirit realm. We've heard about these 4 awesome guardians. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of the star of the show now, the Spiritborn itself?
Yeah, so I think before we really dive in, I want to talk about Akarat, who's really important with the Spiritborn and the Spirit Realm. For those who don't know, Akarat is this prophet that believed in the human experience and that it gives us this unique power. We have this light within us. And that light gives us the ability to question and to doubt and to challenge. When Akarat made his way to his mother's homeland in Nahantu, he felt this strong otherworldly presence, and he would spend a lot of time with one of his apostles, Isavete, trying to uncover what this mystery was. What was this feeling when he got to the realm, or when he got to the land of Nahantu, until he eventually discovers this veil, and that's the veil between the spirit realm and sanctuary. And he realized that this was this untouched place from neither angels or demons. They had never really had any sort of influence there. So Akrat and his dedicant Isavete would spend a lot of time studying, and he would be the first person and living being to cross this veil. And then after Akrat died, his apostle would then take on the mantle and then found the Spiritborn traditions that we know today.
You know, hearing about the Spiritborn, and of course, like, I'm sure this is a burning question from the community, but the Sanctuary has a long and storied history. Kind of, where have the Spiritborn been throughout all of this?
Yeah, so for anybody who knows the lore of Diablo, this region is no stranger to Mephisto, right? So if you go back to Diablo 2 and you look at the story there, his original soul stone was imprisoned in this place. And its presence corrupted the Zakarum faith, it corrupted the region, and the Spiritborn remember this. And so over the course of what's been happening in D4, they've decided to stay at arm's length out of fear that history might repeat itself.
Yeah, so like I said before, this is an untouched realm. It's pure. This is something so sacred. And with Nerel coming back with the Soul Stone, this is a huge problem for the people of Nahantu, but specifically the Spiritborn that are trying to protect this land.
Yeah, and at this point, with him back, they have no choice but to rejoin the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible to hear more about the Spiritborn and where they originated from. And of course, thank you, Eleni, for taking us into the spirit realm in itself. You know, we've talked about the new class and how that was created and what they've been up to. Next, we're actually going to take a look at how the art and concepts were designed. We are now joined by my blood brother, art director Nick Celano, who is here to show us how the Spiritborn visually came to be. Nick, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Adam. I'm really excited to talk about the Spiritborn finally.
I know, it's been a long time coming.
Been a long
time coming. Nick, will you tell us a little bit more
They
about
do have some
how
talented
this
artists,
class came
though.
to be, especially on the art side?
Yeah, you know, first of all, like that trailer, like what an origin story for a Diablo class. Like you got to go into the jungle, you answer the call, or you're cold. Like it's pretty rock and roll, and on the art side, like we love that stuff. So I think when you go back to like what Eleni and Brent were talking about, we really want to capture everything they just mentioned from a visual standpoint. So for us, it's about trying to infuse the Hantu, the spirit realm, and a martial arts feel into the class. Brent mentioned that like kind of lightning rod moment. That's something that the art team really focuses on. When those moments happen, we really lock into that and start to do a lot of iteration. So like, you know, concept will start casting a really wide net, but when that happens, we really start to bring it in and we start to really do a lot of concepts around that so that we can kind of get that tagline that the team needs, which is like creating the living, breathing embodiment of the spirit realm.
Yeah, and it's really, you know, after we get past that initial inspirational piece, we want to like drill down into finding that iconic piece. And so when you look at some of the imagery that we're showing today, you can see how we're taking that embodiment and we're bringing it into all of the iconic look of that character. We wanted a class that wouldn't necessarily wear armor to protect themselves, but rather become the guardian that they're all about. And so if you're into the jaguar, you're wearing the jaguar helm. Your markings are the spots and patterns that you would see on that creature. The way that you move through the jungle would also be a big part of that package. And then once we have that iconic look, we can actually roll it out to the rest of the team.
Yeah, that's really the DNA of like where we start going. Like those iconic images drive the entire art department at that point. And that's our North Star. So we can move into things like, how do we get the Spirit Guardians on screen? How do they fit into the combat? If you think about the eagle, does the full eagle show up? Is it just feathers? How do we represent that? And how do we like ramp that up through our visuals so you can start with something, a little more on a certain scale and get to this like epic moment. We also want to explore, visually, like visual iconography at the same time. So while we're doing all that iteration and stuff with the iconic looks and the skills, we're also starting to get into like, what is the identity of the class? Where do we want to put this iconography? And like, what is that visual footprint that they're going to take up on the screen?
It's seeing all this like badass concept art. Like shout out to our concept artist on the art team.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So good. Like how do you guys actually take this from like concept now to actually building out the character from some of this concept art?
Yeah, once we have alignment between the design direction that we want to go, we understand kind of roughly mechanically and from a design perspective where we want it to be and where we want it from an art direction standpoint. We sit down with each department and we actually roll out the idea. We pitch them, and we're like, hey, this is what we're thinking, and really get them to understand where we're trying to head so that when they go off in their crafts and make the best work that they possibly can make, the sum of all the parts end up with a killer class like the Spiritborn.
Collaboration's a big thing, and it really starts with the character art department. They take these like 2D images and bring them to life in 3D. They will start to figure out materials, the fine details of how our armor's crafted, to like big silhouette shapes. One of the interesting things about this class is we started to recognize that like the helms, the gauntlets, the belts were really great places to like hone in on those like visual elements. Yeah. And another nice thing is like the armor really started to kind of come into the space of being very functional and practical. You'll notice that like the legs are kind of open, the upper body's kind of open. It's because we're making a really fast, agile class. So we want everything to kind of line up. And like Brent said, like they don't need to be fully armored. They are protected by the Spirit Guardians. Their offense is their defense, and it shows when you play it. Speaking of fast and agile, we move to tech art. Tech art really is the team that will kind of find what our limits are and kind of allow us to break them a little bit. So they do a lot of range of motion tests. They're trying to figure out how we can get really dynamic poses, really dynamic lines of actions. And we want to push that because this class really needs us to kind of be in the spot where we're like kind of pushing the boundaries of what we've done normally.
Yeah, it's awesome because like you guys mentioned like super like hypermobile class and it's the apex predator in the jungle itself. Like how do you put that towards something like animation now, like getting the character to move and kind of telegraphing that through that animation?
Yeah, like one of the key elements here is making sure that we have a combat archetype that's unique. So if you take a look at the original 5 classes, each one of them has a very distinct style. And so when we were thinking about the Spiritborn, we naturally went to martial arts. And what does that mean for the movement through the jungle? And actually, I feel like we found a really good pairing there.
Yeah, like the animation team, like they went crazy with reference. They were looking at Muay Thai, Taekwondo, kickboxing, boxing, karate. There was a stunt woman that did these amazing like reference materials that we saw. And the really interesting thing here is we're not trying to like just mimic a martial arts style. We're really trying to find the best pieces of them and seeing where they fit, how can we manipulate them, how can we rearrange them in ways that make a really unique and interesting fighting style for the Spiritborn. Once the animation team has that, and like they, again, they have a wide range of options that they're looking at, they start to figure out like where it fits for each guardian. So, for example, the gorilla is blunt force, lots of strength. The jaguar is cleaves, multi-hit combos, aggression. The centipede is like open palm strikes for applying poisons and unearthing things from the ground. And the eagle is about really precision movements and repositioning on the battlefield. So like they nailed it when it came to that.
You know, honestly, it's like the combination of all
That
the
sounds
things that
cool,
we put
though.
together. We'd been talking about.
It's
It's like we've almost invented our own
where
martial
each
arts style for
each
Diablo.
animal has its
And we've
own
been
thing.
talking about this the last few days with all the people that we've met with, and they actually said, "Hey, does it have a name?" And currently, it
Well,
doesn't,
yeah, and
so,
I
like,
agree
for those
with
of you at
yeah.
home, if you got
Like I
ideas,
said, it's a cross
Check out
between
the,
the
you know,
druid and the
the
monk.
Spiritborn gameplay,
Oh, yeah.
and like, you know, if you have names, suggestions.
But I'm
Yeah,
sure
we gotta name
each
it.
animal is
Yeah.
going to be
Exactly, we're all
just like
ears.
the
Right.
fire,
We've
the
heard
ice,
about,
or you know stuff.
concept, and we've heard about
Yeah.
With the
text
mage, just
and
you're going to
we've
be
heard about
in
animation. I always call it kind of like the frosting
kind of
on the cake,
invested
and that is
in
kind of
one or the
VFX,
other.
and that makes
Yeah.
everything kind of pop a little bit. How does VFX actually play into something like the Spiritborn?
Yeah, you know, at this point, VFX is really they're an amazing bridge between like gameplay and the visuals of the game. And they had a really important lift, which was to try to figure out like, how do we represent like the spirit realm and these like elemental spirit guardians like together? What is that fantasy and what is that story we're telling? So Eleni mentioned earlier that like there's this veil, right? So we needed to understand like, how do you get the jaguar, for example, to like come through this veil, show up in Sanctuary, and exit through the veil? So visually, we're looking at like, what is the spirit realm? So we have this like kind of bluish white mist. They come in through the veil. That bluish white mist kind of like trails off of them. They become physical. The jaguar is now engulfed in flames. This
Look at the
spirit guardian,
hotbar. Did you see it?
It kills everything on the screen that you can like that's around it, and then it exits through that veil.
Yeah, they're
and kind
all
of,
the
like,
attacks are
transitions into
based
that
off of that one
that's a fantastic
spirit.
story for us to tell, and it also allows us to start to understand like what are our pieces with the VFX and how to then ramp up our basic skills to be maybe.
But that
maybe a
could have
little
just
more,
been because they
mental
were
side,
testing that
core
spirit.
skills. We start
Right.
to like kind of blend the two together. You know, maybe it's like the gorilla fish show up and they look like that spirit element, and then they, you know, then you go into the ultimates where it's just like our spectacles like ramped up, and to be honest with you, like when it all comes together, like there is a feel to this class that is really awesome. Kind of like inherently martial arts has a rhythm and a cadence to it. This class has that. It's fantastic to look at. You feel it when you play it, and the art team, they killed it. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I gotta give another shout out to the Diablo 4 art team. Absolutely killed it. The Spiritborn is fantastic. It's great to look at, great to play. But Nick, thank you so much for walking us through the creation of the Spiritborn. Reminder for everyone watching from home, we'll actually be holding a Q&A at the end of today's Spiritborn Showcase, similar to how we always do with all our live streams. You can drop your questions in the Diablo Twitch chat, and we will try to get to
Yeah,
as
you
many
can't
of them
deny
as
they have
possible
the
towards
art
end of
team.
the show.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to the characters, the looks, the graphics.
Well, and of course Blizzard here, they're the masters of cinematics. So
It may take them a while to get the rest of it situated,
We've
but
heard
the
lore, we've
cinematics
seen the art.
and
Now
his
let's get ready
storyline
to
is
talk
great.
about some gameplay. I know a lot of people are excited to hear more about how this class actually plays. So next up, we have Bjorn Mikkelsen, class designer, on stage to talk about the gameplay for the Spiritborn. Bjorn is actually here to tell us more about the Spiritborn's overall class kit and design. And later on, we'll get into some itemization, which I know every
Why does he
fan
remind
wants to
me of
hear about,
Sheldon?
because itemization is, of
Yeah,
course,
he
incredible.
does look like
especially
Sheldon.
within Diablo. Bjorn, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I know Bjorn will be a fan favorite here because
Yeah,
he's going to
absolutely will.
walk us through all the skills and the gameplay for how it works. So Bjorn, can you kick us off and tell us a little bit about this new class?
Absolutely. So yeah, just like high level, like what is this class? Excellent question. So basically what Spiritborn are, they are these jungle warriors who are empowered by the spirits. They're sort of this dexterity focused class and sort of masters of martial arts and hand-to-hand combat. And so what they do is ultimately all of their actions and their movements, they sort of resonate with the spirits to form sort of these unique combat styles as they're fighting. They sort of mix and match them to hit whatever sort of build they need.
Awesome. So if you are a current Diablo player right now, or let's say I'm a current Diablo player, which I am, I play a lot of Rogue or Barb, where would you kind of place the speed and aggression of the Spiritborn?
Yeah, I would say Spiritborn is definitely probably our fastest, most aggressive class. It's got multiple gap closers built into its basic attacks. It's got several movement skills, very high damage on those, as well as several ways to upgrade its evade skill as well. It's all about kind of like getting on a target, sticking to it, and killing it.
Awesome. I know we had footage earlier of like, within the trailer of players actually being able, and we talked about this earlier, players being able to actually summon in these spirit guardians. So can you like just summon a giant jaguar into battle or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, kind of in addition to being these master martial artists, because they're empowered by these spirits, you'll see parts of the spirits, but then ultimately with the ultimates, the spirits themselves will show up on the battlefield and they'll empower you and deal damage.
And it's really the core of the fantasy, right? Like if we talk about power fantasies, summoning the god into battle is the power fantasy for this class. And one of the things that I really liked about that is that we were getting a bunch of feedback early on about making ultimates more.
So they're going to be ultimates.
And we were actually able to do that with this class ground up.
Awesome. I know people are probably dying to know, like, okay, let's jump into some spirit guardians. So I think this is
the
a great
main summoning
Maybe we
of
should
the
start off with like the jaguar being the first one.
Yeah, they're each going to be an ultimate.
Sure. Yeah, starting off, Jaguar is a great one. Jaguar is, as we've kind of touched on before, it is sort of this manifestation of just like the hunter. It's exhilaration, it's violence, it's aggression. It's attacking repeatedly, kind of just constant pressure as it's going. It's got these ramping mechanics to it. It's got lots of kill streaks.
Tell me that doesn't remind you of the monk.
Oh, it does.
Its primary focus is attack speed, and it chases that through a new keyword and mechanic that we call ferocity. This is a stacking buff that it can generate usually via Jaguar skills.
But look at that shit.
Will
That's
increase
awesome.
The attack speed of all of its skills, but it will also enhance other Jaguar skills, so you can use
Well, I
them
mean,
often,
I've played a
reset cooldowns,
monk
that sort of thing.
before. I enjoyed the class.
Oh yeah,
Moving on to an
I did too.
example, I guess, of a Jaguar skill. First off, here's one we have Ravager. This is a new type of skill we're adding to the game called Incarnate skills. They all have a passive and active effect. This one allows you to maintain your ferocity at just like a minimum level, so you're all just like a little bit fast. But then when you activate it, you kind of go full Jaguar mode. It gives you additional attacks, kind of like whenever you hit something, it does an extra strike. So it can even turn like skills that are like deal a little bit less damage, they can now deal extra damage just whenever you hit something. Moving on to another skill, we have Rushing Claw. This one is the Jaguar's kind of primary mobility skill.
Yeah, it's just a dash.
Target and slash everything along the way. And the key to this one is you can kind of use it over and over and over again, like multi-strike your enemies. And then finally, of course, we have the ultimate, the Hunter. This will actually manifest the Jaguar onto the battlefield. You'll leap through the air. It's also a movement skill. And when you land, the Jaguar will destroy everything. And it also has upgrades to kind of help chase the kill streak vibe. There's a chance to reset the cooldown after you kill something with it.
Yeah, so if you look at all of these things as a package, you start to see almost a combat archetype built into each Guardian themselves. And that was actually something that was really important to us. So if you were speccing into the Jaguar, it's important to those types of players who do want to keep the attack speed up, that do want to keep their kill streaks going. And you're going to see this as like a through line that each particular Guardian will have their own thing.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the fast, frantic gameplay, and I will say I have a little bit of bias towards the Jaguar for sure. But I know we want to go on to the other Guardians for sure. And for all our tanky friends out there, Bjorn, do you want to walk us through the Gorilla?
Absolutely. Yeah, moving on to the Gorilla. The Gorilla, core concept behind protection and defense. But it's not just like passive defense. This is a very active defensive play style where you're shrugging off the damage, but you're also returning it to your attacker. So it's really got this kind of core of like retribution also sort of built into it. Its core mechanic and stat that we work with is damage reduction. It chases this in two ways. One is through using block, sort of actively blocking damage, as well as a second new keyword and mechanic called resolve. This is also a stacking buff, but this one falls off whenever you get hit, so it's really important to keep stacking it and kind of keep stealing yourself and building your resolve back up. But as long as you have any stacks of it, you get the full damage reduction bonus. So moving on to just a couple examples for guerrilla skills. Starting off, we have Crushing Hand. This is their core spender skill. Kind of just does what it says. We'll smash your enemies to pieces. Kind of neat thing about it is it's actually 2 separate attacks that kind of overlap in the middle.
Just like
so you can sort of
Crush It.
prioritize a single target and deal double damage to it. Another attacking skill that we have, this one's Payback. This one really leans hard into the sort of aspect of retribution that we have going on. This one will deal a large amount of damage, and that damage will ramp up the more something has hit you. So it's really good for just like ending a fight if you need to. But also like as things are hitting you, that will reduce its cooldown. So kind of you have this flow of like being able to sort of like end fights, but also kind of keep hitting as you go. And then finally, again, we have the ultimate skill, bringing in the gorilla itself. The skill is called the Protector. It creates a large protected area on the
Big
battlefield
old
that will grant
AoE.
you barrier while you're inside of it, as well as several other defensive bonuses that you can spec into with
That's
it.
cool.
And the gorilla will just smash any enemies that try to come and harm you while you're in it.
Yeah, if
That's
you
super
like that
cool.
bruiser archetype, like this is the build for you. It is definitely about that give and take of damage. I mean, you'd said it earlier. Anyone who's been looking for a tank or a tank-like build in Diablo, this is the one that you're going to want to spec into as a part of your kit.
Yeah, it sounds like a really unique way of being able to, especially for tank players, to like bring damage to enemies and stuff like that, which is so awesome. So next, onto our third guardian. Of course, we have the Eagle. Bjorn, do you want to take us through the Eagle?
Yeah, so the Eagle, kind of soaring above it all, we've got this guardian that represents precision and accuracy and kind of finesse. Its ability, its freedom of movement, like a lot of the movement that the class has is very aggressive, very in your face, and the Eagle really is able to kind of take that to another level and kind of go wherever it wants. In addition to that, it can also sort of like extend its attacks to sort of pseudo-ranged playstyle. Allows it to really like prioritize a target and sort of like hit from anywhere. So its core stat that it cares
So
about
the
is
Jaguar is more
that allows it
fire
kind of, like I
based.
said,
This one
able
looks
to
more
kind of go anywhere
electric
it wants and
based.
sort of tactically reposition on the battlefield.
Grill
And it
is
also
more
has several ways to
ground-based.
sort of amplify its evade skill, adding damage, that sort of thing to it. So moving into just a couple examples.
And
we of course
the
have to start off
centipede
with
is
Sword.
poison.
This is sort of Spiritborn's premier
Yeah, that's what I was
mobility
thinking.
skill.
No, that's what he said.
Takes you up into the air, out of the
Okay.
battle for a second, able to dodge mechanics with that if you need to. But also, because the Eagle is all about kind of those big impacts as well, it will create a target area where you're going to come down and make those enemies vulnerable so that it just amplifies the damage when you land. Moving on to another example, we have Razor Wings. This is a damaging skill for the Eagle. This one has kind of this cool back and forth where it sends it out, allows you to hit something at range, but because it also returns to you, it sort of rewards you for the tactical positioning on the battlefield, so you can sort of line it up so it'll hit different things as it comes back. And then, of course,
That's
our
neat.
ultimate skill, the Seeker, bringing in the Eagle itself,
Is-
just annihilate your enemies with damage.
It's
Cast
basically
anywhere
throwing
on
out
the
a fucking
battlefield, it
boomerang.
charges up and then blasts off.
Yeah.
The blast.
Well, it reminds me of the
Upgraded
shield
guaranteed
from
critical
the,
strike
uh,
with
Oh,
power
yeah,
on the
yeah,
battlefield.
yeah.
It will also make everything vulnerable for you. This is also like one of the first ultimates that we have, which will have multiple charges, so you can kind of use it back to back or like prioritize.
I'll be
targets
back in a
with it,
minute.
And there's like a lot of player agency with that.
Yeah, this is really for that tactical player, where positioning is super important. You don't necessarily want to be constantly in the fray, so you still want to output that damage. Maybe you want to put it in a particular place in the encounter, but you can do it by going in and then you can get right back out. So for those players who really like that tactical positioning, that's what the Eagle is for.
Yeah, it seems like the Eagle gives you that extra freedom of in mobility, so you can kind of move in and out, especially with things like Soar, which is sick to see for sure.
It's one of my
So
favorites.
unique for Diablo 4 for sure on that end. Last but not least, of course, this is probably our most unique Spirit Guardian, and probably one that I'm sure a lot of people are like looking at and going like, oh, this has got to be crazy, and that is the Centipede. So Bjorn, how's the Centipede play out?
Yeah, so moving to the Centipede. The Centipede is very unique. It represents this sort of abstract concept of the cycle of life and death, and the way we've kind of chosen to interpret that is that it's sort of this epicenter of attrition, but it's also like really about just kind of like this endless or inescapable sort of persistence, and that's like really bad for your enemies, but kind of really good for you. So its core mechanics that it works with that persistence is damage over time, poisoning, crowd controls, that sort of thing, but then it uses those things to sort of empower and sustain itself. So also like leeching life and that sort of thing back to you, sort of draining your enemies as you kill them. So moving on to just a quick example, Stinger is our core skill for the Centipede. This one does a large amount of damage in a small area in front of you, but the sort of interesting thing about it is that that damage will also echo out to any nearby poisoned enemies. So it kind of has this adaptive, like, dynamic range that it has, sort of depending on like how much you've been spreading your poisons around the field. So it can like basically like hit the whole screen if you really want to. Another skill example that we have would be Scourge. Scourge kind of takes that sort of like oppressive control that the Centipede has, and it will fear and it will slow and poison enemies and sort of disrupt any kind of like strategies they might have going on and just sort of allow you to turn the tables on them. And then finally, we have the ultimate skill, bringing in the Centipede itself onto the battlefield. This is the Devourer. Poison laser beams, globs of poison everywhere. Just the Centipede kind of wrecking the entire battlefield. It's got upgrades which will also allow it to instantly execute enemies who have been fully poisoned, sort of helping the cycle of life and death to speed up a little bit there.
Yeah, this is clearly our most Diablo Guardian that we have. It's becoming a fan favorite very quickly. Well, the people who have gotten a hands-on with it have a lot to say about it. But the cool thing about this one is we took on a really unique design challenge. Like, how do you take a concept of damage over time, dealing damage, regenerating life, and make that kind of the core of an entire archetype? I thought you guys did a fantastic job at getting it there. For those type A players who really want to manipulate the field and keep that damage up and keep that resilience going, this is definitely that class for you.
Yeah, I have to call out. It's so crazy seeing a giant centipede behind me right now. But I know a lot of players at home are probably looking at each of these 4 Spirit Guardians and they're going like, hey, this is probably the one I'm going to go with, just seeing some of the gameplay and some of the play styles. But I think one big question that probably a lot of people have is, are you kind of forced to go down one of these, or can you actually do some mix and match, or how does that work?
You know, freedom of choice is really important for this class. So if you want to go all in on one of them, go for it. Like, there's no problem in doing that. There's benefits that you can see from it, but there's also benefits from mixing and matching. Like, we wanted adaptability and hybridization to be at the core of this class. So it's been a goal from the very beginning to actually get that there. So when you get hands-on with this, like, you're going to want to experiment. We want you to experiment. We know that there's going to be many builds that are very emergent, and I actually can't wait to see some of the cool stuff that people come up with once this goes live.
Yeah, exactly. Like, at its heart, Spiritborn is really all about like personalization, sort of expressing yourself. And so like whichever spirit sort of resonates with you, we really want to allow you to mix and match them kind of to your heart's content. And sort of make that play style choice like fully customizable. And the primary way that we're doing that, or the main way that we're doing that, is the Spiritborn's class mechanic called Spirit Hall. The way the Spirit Hall works is you start your journey off by choosing one of 4 bonuses at the top, the primary bonus. This is a like massive bonus that will add sort of a thematic effect to all of your skills of that type. So like an effect like the Jaguar will add extra strikes and that sort of thing to all your Jaguar skills. But a subtle but very important extra piece of this is that we'll also add that spirit's tag to your entire skill kit. So every single part of your skill kit now has the Jaguar skill. And so even if you want to use like Centipede skills, you can still sort of hook into various parts of the Jaguar using this bonus. Then later on in your journey, you will unlock a second bonus. This is a set of 4 distinct bonuses from the first. Each of these kind of has a tie-in with the sort of core mechanics of each of the spirits. So we mentioned before sort of the new keywords that we were introducing, like with the Jaguar has ferocity, the Gorilla has resolve, those sorts of things. These give you an opportunity to sort of mix those into your kit, regardless of like if you are using those specific skills or not, and sort of like add that extra layer on top of your build. And when you're choosing these spirits, these can absolutely...
What do you think of the Spiritborn so far? I don't know how much of it you've been watching.
And it's really important that like they all kind of flow and work together.
So if you look at the nesting doll effect that we have of your skill tree, your class mechanic, this can get complicated very quickly. And so one of the things that the team took on was this idea of finding what resonates most with each guardian, and how do we create some level of overlap so that we can have some synergies between all of them?
Yeah, exactly. As we hit, like each of these has like very clear themes, right? You've got the jaguar with its attack speed, you've got the gorilla with its protection. You can definitely build into those, but it was important for us to sort of establish that these spirits, they don't exist like in isolation from each other. They have overlap. They have things that they both care about, and that allows us to sort of create these very hybrid-esque builds that work together. You know, just like an example, right? You've got like the jaguar is a hunter. It's all about aggression and kind of chaos. And that's a thing. It loves that. But as a hunter, you're also sort of providing, you're also sustaining yourself, which is a thing that the centipede also loves to do. And so they both care about healing, and they both have like different hooks that they can do for that. And so you can really like, if you're looking to get more healing into your build, you can add some centipede, you can add some jaguar, mix them together, you can make an entire build about healing that is centipede and jaguar. These aren't like prescribing ways to build, but they're more so just like they're overlapping stats that allow them to sort of communicate with each other. So just a couple examples. We have, for instance, if you want to build like the gorilla, gorilla's a lot of protection, jaguar's a lot of sort of chaotic, constant damage. So when you mix those two together, you get this sort of like semi-tanky brawler who can just kind of go toe-to-toe with anything. And they sort of like dip into the stat of dodge, because dodge is a little bit inherently a slightly more RNG, a little bit more chaotic, kind of jaguar, but it also kind of has that damage mitigation. And so you kind of combine them together and you have this very like retribution, but also fast-paced playstyle. Another example would be potentially if we think about like the centipede and the eagle. The centipede's all about sort of debilitating your enemies and like making them weaker, and the eagle's all about like kind of finding those weak points and like getting these high damage, you know, bursts off. So when you add those two together, they both care about vulnerable and sort of like turning the tables on all of your enemies. And so adding that together kind of creates this character that's sort of just able to like prioritize a target, weaken it, and then just like cull it from the battlefield.
Yeah, it's. I'm so glad Bjorn brought all these like really good examples for us. He's got a lot of footage for us to go through. It's awesome to see all these skills and how they work with the actual spirit guardians. And of course, the big popular topic that comes with every single class is itemization. And I know we have a lot to talk about with legendary aspects and some uniques as well. So Bjorn, Brent, like how does itemization work with Spiritborn?
Yeah, we all know that itemization is the heart of the game, right? And as we've been moving through our itemization journey with this game, we've had a really great opportunity to fold in all the feedback and how that applies to the Spiritborn as we've been developing. And one of the cool things that we did was took the opportunity to actually lean into the things that you get from items and see how they build into the spirit's abilities themselves. So we're going to show a few examples of that. Now this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of really cool stuff coming, but we thought we'd do a really quick breakdown and show you what that looks like.
Yeah, so just hitting a couple examples, you know, we have added this large suite of Spiritborn legendaries and uniques to the game. But just
Interested
to break
in
down
what
some
the
of our thoughts as we were working with them, sort of
codex
the types
pieces
of
are
legendaries
for
you can
the
expect to see.
legendaries.
You know, one example, as we were just speaking about sort of these hybridization things, there's a lot of different stats in our game and sort of making them work together, not just like work together, but like be cool together. So we kind of have this category of items that will sort of interweave a couple of different stats. Secondly, we have our power augmentation legendaries. These just kind of let you take like your favorite skill and ascend it to its final form and just kind of like go crazy with it. And then thirdly, we have sub-powers. These are sort of things like, we think of them like rogue grenades, barbarian dust devils. These are sort of things you can sort of build around. They're sort of almost like skills, but they don't exist in your skill tree as things you can put on your bar. And then finally, we have our unique items, which are there to enable you to sort of make the craziest builds you can think of. So moving on to a couple examples, just kind of one for each real quick. We have Tormentors. This is an example of a hybridization legendary. This one interweaves poisoning and thorns together, kind of in an interesting way that'll allow you to apply your thorns, you know, in a different way than just like having something hit you all the time. It's great. You can probably see the connection. Gorilla, centipede, they'll love this sort of thing. Moving on to an example of a power augmentation, we have Bristling Vengeance. This takes the payback seal that we kind of hit on before. Usually it's like a smaller AoE like right in front of you that just hits one enemy.
Yeah,
but
that's
this one
the
really
gorilla
allows it to sort of like extend its range, hit multiple
gorilla
enemies,
clap.
as well as apply your thorns over an area. And then thirdly, we have an example of one of our sub-powers. This one's called a Pestilent Swarm. The cool thing that we're kind of trying to out with each of our sub-powers is there are multiple legendaries for them, and they sort of allow you to customize how they work. So there's like one that'll let your pestilence swarm like poison enemies, one that'll make it spiral, one that'll even make it orbit. You can sort of like combine those, like you can have it orbit and spiral, or poison. You can just have it shoot off, kind of whatever works for your build. We really want people to be able to experiment and play with those sub-powers. And then just a couple of teasers, some of our uniques. These are some unique boots that
Sword
basically
deals
allow you to
50%
override
increased
your
damage.
evade
Your
skill
evade is now
with Soar. Just get the ultimate amount of mobility you can think of. The neat thing about that is also that it allows you potentially like to take Soar off your bar. You can't let it go, but you at least kind of get to keep it with you in that
I'm
evade.
back.
And then another example.
They're showing
would be
off
our
some of the
unique quarter
uniques.
staff, which is one of the 2 weapons we're adding with the Spiritborn. This one sort of allows
Deals
you to ramp up
200%
the basic
increased
attacks.
damage.
Spiritborn's basic
Third
attacks are
attack
a
and
little
every
bit special.
third
They're kind of
cast
really
unleash
cool.
triple
They're
strikes.
these 3-hit combos, and each third hit does like a special thing. And this specific unique basically lets you get that third attack all the time. So then we have to take their third attack and make it a triple version that almost turns them into a different skill entirely.
Yeah, this is awesome. Seeing all the couple of examples of uniques. As Brent mentioned, this is just
That's
kind of
actually
like
pretty
the
cool.
tip of the
So,
iceberg. I
they've
personally
shown
would
3
take the Soar
different
boots all day.
uniques, and they were
Being
all
able to
super
use,
cool.
you know, Soar as an evade is absolutely amazing. But I want to give a huge thanks to Bjorn for walking us through all the skills, especially associated with the Spirit Guardians, and of course the itemization across the whole entire class. We will actually have an extensive look for the entire community after the show on our blog. It will provide a great amount of detailed mention here immediately following the stream, so you can check it out and do a deeper dive with the Spiritborn yourself. Now we're going to bring back everyone to get into our Q&A for all things Spiritborn.
Hey, Couture.
I think the hybrid of Jaguar Gorilla is going to be pretty awesome. They were showing some hybrid gameplay. They showed
Now we're ready for our community
So you
Q&A,
can
where
mix
we'll
and
answer your
match.
burning
Yeah.
questions for all things
Just like a
Spiritborn. If you
mage
have questions,
with
again,
fire and
please
ice,
drop them
fire,
in the Twitch chat.
electricity,
We'll try to
electricity,
get through
ice.
as many as possible.
Yeah, you can mix and
through the
match
whole
them.
entire Q&A process.
But they were
Thank you guys
showing
for joining us. We did some
Jaguar, Gorilla,
musical
Gorilla, and
chairs to get everyone
Centipede,
back up here during that quick little
Centipede
interstitial.
and
I
Eagle.
know as questions are coming
But,
up, one big question that everyone always asks,
I think the
know we've
Jaguar
probably
Gorilla's
seen
gonna
it
be
a million
awesome.
times in chat already, is like, hey, we have the Spiritborn. This is a brand new
Well,
class.
that's one thing.
Why not something
I
like
hate. You can only
class from a
play
prior game like
this
Paladin?
specific one to
Yeah, right out of the
max
gate, right?
max damage.
You
You gotta
when we
play this
started
build
off,
because
one of the
that's the way.
things
Because
we
each season
was
so far they've
to make
changed
sure that the class
changed it. So a
didn't
build that
reset
works
per game.
before it doesn't
We
work
also knew
anymore.
that we did
Right.
a really good job at revisiting classic archetypes like the barbarian and the necro, and so we were in this position where doing something new was a great opportunity. It was something that allowed us to inject some fresh gameplay in, and going after the Spiritborn was a wider palette to play with, and so. Making sure that we were building something from the ground up from Nahantu was really the driving factor of this, and we're very proud of where we landed at today.
Awesome. Another question that this is everyone. This is the first time you guys are explaining. This is everyone's favorite moment where I butcher Twitch names like no other. But Arcphoenix asks, "Wait, the lore. Like, where have the Spiritborn been in D3, D2? Why are they not fighting Mephisto themselves?"
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before. Like, this is a religion that has been building up over time. They're a little more secluded, and really one of the things that we looked at is like the early exploration of Akrat, right?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't much development that was going in, so that was like a new frontier for us to work with.
Yeah, and in general, the Spiritborn, which you'll notice when you do play the game, they are very scattered throughout Nahantu. It's not like they have this massive presence where you walk in and you're like, there they are. You know, it's like a little different than that. They're hidden, they're in the jungle, and they don't necessarily want to be seen. And this has sort of been the idea this entire time. It takes a lot of devotion to be a Spiritborn. This isn't something that you can hop in and out of. So when we talk about being a Spiritborn, these are people who have devoted their entire lives to be doing this one thing, and that's what they're doing in Nahantu. They're not exploring really.
I know we've actually gotten a few questions about this specifically. And this is a pretty good question for Bjorn and Nick, because a lot of people have noticed, like, hey, quarterstaff and new weapons. Like, what are the new weapon types for Spiritborn specifically?
Sure. Yeah, Spiritborn's bringing 2 new weapons with it. First off, we have the glaive, kind of its premier weapon that you see in all the key art. That's really the weapon for like a hunter. It's great for like taking down priority enemies. It's got built-in elite damage, that sort of thing. And then the second weapon we're adding is the quarterstaff. This is a faster weapon that they can use to even sort of like add like block chance and that sort of thing to it. So it's almost like a little bit of a pseudo-defensive weapon, but it's also got very high attack speed.
Yeah, from a fantasy standpoint, it was really cool to like try to create weapons that made sense for, again, like Brent mentioned, like where the class is from. So like, you know, a glaive makes a lot of sense for like cutting through the jungle, you know, being an aggressive weapon, being an attack-based weapon. The quarterstaff is really cool because it's like, you could imagine like, how do they train with this? They probably found like really strong branches from like trees that were really important to them, and they start to like train with that, and eventually they kind of start to perfect that craft and that bow staff. So there's a lot of really cool fantasy that we can, like, the art team can really dig into.
It also looks cool.
Yeah.
Like just to be frank, like if we're talking about a martial arts class, like having the bow staff or the glaive to like really extend some of those key poses that we got with the martial arts stuff that we put into the game. I mean, it looks really good.
Yeah, it's awesome to see like new weapons for the Spiritborn with Vessel of Hatred. So another question that we have here, this is from Bucko351, easy name. Question, what's the difference between the Spiritborn and the Druid class? The Druid class currently has bonds with like the stag, the wolf, the eagle, and the snake. Like what's kind of the changes between that and something like the Spiritborn?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Spiritborn, you're not necessarily turning into this animal that we're talking about. This is a spirit guardian that lives in the spirit realm, and you're channeling this spirit guardian, and the manifestation that we're talking about is what comes out. So when we talk about like ferocity or something, that's something that you see in the jungle, right? So you have this jaguar that's recognizable, and that's this manifestation. It's the best way to show that. So if we had a different belief, then it would manifest in a different way. Versus the druid, you sort of really encompass the entire animal.
And you see that in the gameplay quite a bit, where I think, Nick, you were mentioning before, where it's like, yeah, I have this bond with the centipede. When I call him in, I call the centipede in to deal with this side of the combat, and then I go off and I start managing the other side of the combat. So you really see this like combat partnership between the Guardians and the Spiritborn, which is incredibly unique.
We got a question here from Kat the Dewey. They're asking, we've seen 4 Spirit Guardians. Are there other Spirit Guardians that were considered potentially?
Yeah, look, I'll spill the beans. I'll talk about it. You know, when we're choosing the spirits, we played around with a lot of concepts. Super abstract stuff that weren't animal-based. We talked about, okay, if I'm from the jungle, these things would probably represent things I know, which brought us to animals. And when we think
The
about
jaguar, the gorilla, and the eagle, or falcon, or whatever it's supposed to be, all makes
What does
sense.
an elephant mean? If there's
The centipede,
animal that represents, like,
I mean, you're using 3 animals and then a bug.
The gorilla was also being talked about.
Well, insects and creepy crawl. I mean, you got.
So,
I mean, I understand they're in the jungle. I mean, hell, we got them here in the woods, you know. Just saying. Just curious.
movement and
Well, why
visuals
insects
and
aren't the
power
most
set and so
popular of,
So,
you know,
yeah,
I was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say, like,
Yeah.
we spend a
creatures,
lot of
they
time
are
trying to
part
figure out,
of, you know,
it's not
nature.
collaboration, and sometimes art will inform design, design will inform art. So I think
Well,
that's a good spot where
because
from
the
Spiritborn,
whole
we're
thing
looking at
about
how
it
many
is
things.
poison,
When
but
you
then
think
again,
about
you could have
Nahantu,
used
you
snakes
think
for
about
that.
the canopy of the jungle.
Yeah, but you already got
Think
the
about things that protect
the
us
cobra
in the
with the
jungle,
fire style of
which is
the
cool in a lot of sense, like
mage.
thematically. So like we start to find those
Oh,
motifs,
well,
right?
that's
You think
true, I
about the
guess.
centipede. It's like
And think
there's
about
like
it, man.
ground
Pound for
roots in
pound,
the jungle,
insects
like
are
what
far
turns up those
stronger than
insects. You know, we spent a
you
lot
know
of time
anything
exploring
else.
that, but
Yeah.
think about the gameplay connection, poisons, fears, right? The centipede, that this like life and death kind of cycle they talked about, like the centipede makes a lot of sense. So we really start to try to connect the
I mean,
dots
for
and
their
put
size,
and
they're
those are the ones that really stick.
the strong, you know, one of the strongest things
The
crawling
idea
on the
that
planet.
Well, another thing you
creative
could have
space
done was
actually
he's talking
exists. I
about
believe more in more
reason
than
they
just
went with
weapons, right?
centipede was because poison and fear.
So
Why
the
not
idea that we
spiders?
could expand this out well beyond the class.
Yeah, that's true too.
We've developed more lore than you're actually going to see in the game for the Spiritborn because we want this thing. to
But
live
spiders
beyond
and
just
you
the
know,
outdoor
like you said,
lore.
the snakes and stuff are
Awesome.
centipede
I know
is something
this
different, you know.
this one's
Well,
a
it
little
is,
bit for
right,
Bjorn.
I
We'll
agree.
test his skill knowledge here, but question from Churney Fire was, does the echoing poison effect work on enemies not poisoned by you? Is there like a radius limit? Like how does it work specifically?
Yeah, there's a small radius limit to it, but that can be extended through things like tempering and that sort of thing. It will do any poisoned enemies on the screen.
Oh, nice. That sounds crazy. So yeah, and then we have a question from Crawling Out of the Spiral.
Well, that's cool.
This is a
Any
lore
poisoned
question
enemies on
specifically.
the screen.
Did
So
Mephisto
even if
know
the
about the
scout
Noble
poisons,
Sanctuary and Spirit
it's
Realm,
still
and,
the
like,
centipede still
corruption within the
affects
jungles
them.
during Diablo 2? Like, was he
Oh, that's
possessed,
cool.
during that time? I know we had talked
Give
about
you more
like,
incentive to
Spirit
team
Realm being
up.
this pure
Yeah.
and like untouched place. So.
Yeah, we can
They
definitely
do
see
have
that
the
Mephisto
mechanics
steward
for, you know,
something
group
there.
you know, playing off of
When
it.
it
It's
comes
just
to
not
the lore of Nahantu, there are
it's
a
not
lot of
used
protection
very
that
much. There's
happened
not a whole lot of
during
incentive to
Mephisto's
party up.
corruption. He wasn't able to break through the veil, so that is something that, you know, that's why it's so dire now. But definitely he had this feeling for sure.
Question for not MVP: how does the resource for the Spiritborn work? Do they generate it like passively, or how does that work specifically?
Sure. The Spiritborn's primary resource is called Vigor. It does not inherently recharge passively. You'll generate it by using your basic attacks. But sort of like the key with Spiritborn being very customizable, like one of the first choices that you'll be able to make in your tree with your basic attacks is you can sort of like customize like how you will build the spirit beyond that, whether it's like by poisoning enemies or by blocking damage, that sort of thing, to really like kind of make the resource work the way you want it to work. And then later on, there are also some uniques that will allow you to further customize sort of like how your build influences the resource generation.
Awesome. I know people, we just talked about the weapons and stuff, and there's like follow-up questions of like, are the Spiritborn only using two-handed weapons for this class?
Yes.
The short answer.
Yes. They are. The other question that we're getting is, is there like a special quest for before you can actually start a Spiritborn or create a Spiritborn? Or are there quests that are maybe specific to the class itself?
Yeah, well, we're going to definitely be introducing the class mechanic similarly to the way that we introduced it with the other classes. As far as the beginning of the story is concerned, you know, we really want to jump straight into continuing the chapter of hatred, right? Like what happened when Narel left. We want to jump right into it, get right back into the story, and so we're going to pick up from the perspective where Narel left off.
Awesome. That was a question from Agar. I forgot to throw out the name. I do want to give people shout-outs when they do actually ask the names. The Grim Knot asks, does the Spiritborn have ties maybe with the Witch Doctor in any type of way from Diablo 3?
Not at all. When Brent is talking about creating something new, that's what we wanted to do with the Spiritborn. That also meant really diving into lore and figuring out a separation for freshness. We wanted to still bring in things that were familiar from D2 and just lore in general that we know about, but when it comes to the Spiritborn class and the traditions of the Spiritborn, they're very new. You get a chance to explore it in the game, and you'll see that they're very different.
Awesome. Azeron Blood Moon asks, How much of is the monk inspired into the gameplay of the Spiritborn?
You know, it's we always look back. We can find like a lot of reference, or we can be inspired by things we've made. But I think when you play the class, you'll see it's extremely different. It's so unique, it's so fresh, and it kind of carves its own space in our kind of lineup that after an inspirational point, maybe of looking at like martial arts at just the core, it just kind of goes off in its own direction and kind of redefines that space.
We're gonna. Oh, sorry. Go. No.
Well,
Go. No.
well,
Go
I
ahead.
definitely want to add to that. Is like I don't want to be shy about the fact that we know what works mechanically in the game, and so we're constantly looking at inspiration for the existing classes, for the new classes, on what works best. Take that inspiration and then like take a right turn and actually amplify it or take it into a slightly new direction that makes it very different.
I know we have time for one more question. This is a question for everyone here. What is everyone's favorite spirit? I've already revealed mine, which is Jaguar. But like, what is everyone's favorite spirit guardian here for the Spiritborn?
I mean, I can start. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna say 2. I love the Jaguar as well. But it's just a little bit too chaotic for me, like inherently. And so I love to just like mix the Eagle in there as well, just for a little bit more control, a little bit more like freedom.
Gorilla. I mean, when I saw it show up on screen, beat its chest, and it was just awesome. It was like, that's it.
I knew it. We're like wrestling buds, you know, where we talk about wrestling all the time. I'm not surprised Nick is about like the gorilla. Not surprised.
My favorite guardians are Quatley, the eagle, and Balazon, the centipede. I just love the poison, and it's sick. Like, it looks crazy.
Yeah, for me, Jaguar, like it started with that iconic piece. Yeah, sorry, we're gonna have to share a little bit.
Hold on a second.
But like the movement, it's such a pace changer for the game. Like once you get into it, it's got a very addictive flow, and so I'm all in on the Jaguar.
Well, it's awesome to hear everyone's favorite Spirit Guardians. I do want to thank you all for jumping in for this Q&A. Before we do close out the stream, we did want to let everyone know that we'll be sharing more about Vessel of Hatred at Gamescom this year on August 20th. But you'll actually have a chance to attend Gamescom yourself and play the Spiritborn in person. We're actually sending 5 lucky players to Cologne, Germany to play the Spiritborn at our Gamescom booth in person. Make sure to check out our Instagram at PlayDiablo and read our blog for full details on the contest after the show. Everyone on the Diablo team is incredibly excited for you to check out the new class coming with Vessel of Hatred.
TikTok, any of that shit.
And of course, you can pre-purchase the expansion now. Stick around to check out our Diablo creators, Rax, Woody, Macro Bioboy, and Fame. They're actually upstairs right now, streaming live here at Xbox Studios with Spiritborn gameplay. Also, shout out to Xbox Studios for hosting us. We really appreciate it. And of course, you can check out Kind of Funny Games after the stream, where they'll be live chatting with Rod Ferguson, GM of the Diablo franchise. Brent, Eleni, Nick, Bjorn, thank you for being here to walk us through the Spiritborn. And thank you all and everyone at home for tuning in. We'll see you in Nahantu.
That's that. What were your thoughts there, Grim?
I'm looking forward to playing the class.
I am too.
I mean, we still got a while before it comes out, and they still didn't say shit about what the season was about.
Well, no, I mean,
Well, the fact
I thought
is,
they
this season,
might say something, but they didn't.
well, this next season's going to be what, two months long?
Too much, yeah.
I don't think they're going to put a whole lot into it, knowing it's going to be a shorter.
Think so?
Well, I mean, hopefully they don't just half-ass it and phone it in. And of course, it is one of those seasons where that's usually what happens.
first one someone said they were interested in, and I feel like up here is my favorite.
But since they merged the teams together, I expect them to do something. I just don't.
And this is the mobility.
I don't think it's going to be, you know, as big as some of the other stuff.
First level 30, so we'll see how 30 goes for us. And thank you all for those follows. Hopefully, I didn't turn on all the alerts and all this sort of deal because I knew this would happen and we're not getting spammed. Because I'm definitely not used to this kind of trapping.
DM just posted.
Howdy, howdy. Some of those
I'm sure he did.
howdy emotes. I apologize if I can't engage with the chat as much as I usually do because there's kind of a lot of you in here. Hey, how's it going? Alright, before I forget.
It's her getting it tested out.
Technically, it should also be on YouTube for those checking out YouTube.
She's live streaming it right now from Xbox Center. Rax is live streaming it from there as well, they said.
Yes, it is a beauty.
I think they rated over here. But yeah, Rax is supposed to be live streaming the Spiritborn right now.
Alright, I'll show you the map.
Yeah, here we go.
I'll show you everything. We got 2 hours. I'll show you everything. This is just the first area. Okay, ambush, no problem. My centipede will kill everything. We only get to play the first area. They block you from going forward. So why don't we try one of the new dungeons first, then we'll try a stronghold. We'll try everything. I'll show you everything. By the way, we're frozen at level 30. This is a level 30 character. We cannot gain XP.
It's definitely going to be something new and interesting to play.
Oh yeah.
The new surroundings. One of the things that's a little bit different about the expansion from the original Diablo 4 game is there's way more colors to it. Like when you're actually moving around, you see like jungle and vegetation and greens.
Oh, you really need to finish that episode, by the way.
Black and brown and
Oh, I will.
So this expansion definitely gives a lot more color. Like even right here, like you can see, like it's got more color than the original game. Another thing you'll notice is there's like different markers. I've noticed like there's different, like for example, there's different values and breakpoints for things. So something's got to be happening here that they haven't shared with us yet. Some kind of something. I don't know what, but something. So Centipede is going to be super powerful. It's not going to be as mobile, but it just obliterates everything. I guess let me show you the skills. Stinger they already covered. Small area, poisons people. Withering Fist, we're going to dart people. The third attack bursts at the target. It slows them. This is our Soar is Jumpy Boy. Touch of Death, we're going to infect all of our enemies. Everything about poison. And then Toxic Skin, you can just throw poison everywhere, kind of like a Blaze Sorcerer in Diablo 2. Everything's about poisoning everything. Nothing can survive. They have no chance.
So he's playing the Eagle and Centipede.
You see how tiny my cursor is? Holy cow. Can I change that? Dude, that's the tiniest cursor I've ever seen. I can't even see my cursor scale. Let's go large, high contrast, save. Oh, there we go. And then we go like this. Volume down, volume down. Okay, volume down, no problem. Escape, options, sound, volume down, my ears. I save that. Is that better? Let's try it now. Cut out 30% of the volume. Tell me if this is better for you. I don't think I can turn the mic up. So if anything, I'm just gonna have to turn the volume further down. Can you hear me fine? Is it fine? Let's turn off IT mode here. A bit more down. Okay. A bit more down on the effects. Okay. Okay, what about that? Let's try this now. Is that better, guys? It's fine. Okay, let's go like this then. I'm going to turn off IT mode. Okay, let's explore the dungeon. Can I open this door yet? Yep. Okay. Did I just open a door to get to a door that I can't open? Oh god, dude. Dude, I just got trolled so bad there. Unbelievable. Okay. Alright, so the Soar can jump over terrain, of course. I shouldn't have said that. Let's wait for it to come back up. You might be wondering, oh, can you actually use it to jump down? Yes, you can. So this is, again, probably one of the least...
Well, they showed all
mobile,
that.
Some of you might be wanting to see the loot. Let's pick up the loot. I think it's just normal yellows, but just to show you. Okay, dexterity, damage, resource, cost reduction, kind of basic things here. Could also try tempering. I didn't even think of that. I should have read that manual. I wonder if that manual was a Spiritborn specific manual.
So he's just running a
Yeah,
regular
Centipede is
dungeon.
pretty amazing.
He said he can only
there's
get up
just
to
so much
level
damage
30.
here, and there's so much poison. These guys just have absolutely no chance. Like, it's just pure.
So they
destruction.
limited
I think
them
the
to what they
Centipede
could
right
really
now is
do.
by far
Yeah,
the
so
strongest
he
part
can
of
only
it.
get up to level 30. It's just like running on a test
Like, I
server.
had some boss fights. On
Yeah.
the
So he can only get up to level
Kinda tough.
30.
And then I went in the Shannon.
They've only got partial of the map open, that type of thing.
Okay, let's actually read this. Is this a?
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing
is
the test server on this way back.
a Spiritborn manual. Okay, that's cool. I never actually saw that. Well, they said ahead of time they haven't done the balance patch yet, so they said don't worry about it. I also believe we are not playing the most up-to-date patch, so they have already fixed a lot of stuff that might be broken here. All right, here we go. Holy God, look how strong these guys are.
Need more time.
You guys remember at the start of Diablo 4 when... Oh, look at the centipede. Look at the centipede's damage. Oh my... Woo! Did you see that? Dude, you see what my conduit did compared to the centipede? Oh my god, dude. Get out of here. So, the centipede's pretty good. Put the master volume to 5. Alright, Lee says it's still too loud. Okay. It's still too loud. Okay, let's try that. Okay. Okay, so what else should we do? I want to show you everything. So what's the next cool thing we
Down
can
and
do?
over.
Why don't we go do a stronghold?
Pull this up.
Well,
Now you
that
go
guy
work
was
on
my brother.
finishing
So
The Last of Us.
let's see how it sounds.
That was the plan, but I've had something come up. I'm gonna have to go for a little bit.
All right.
But yeah, that was the original plan. Time's 3 o'clock. I'm gonna try and probably be back within the hour. But play a little bit if I can get back in time. Play some of The Last of Us, and then, like I said, RNC's at the end of the night at 6 o'clock our time. So in 3 hours from now, and I'm gonna turn that on.
All right, man.
Yeah. So everyone, take care. I'll be back in a bit. Thank you for stopping by, Katora and Rat, and we'll see you in a little while.